Jeez, that's loud. First of all, I want to thank you all for coming out and for being keenly interested in your dollars and cents tonight. So for those who have taken the time to be here, thank you very much. And we're going to do our best to get through this and get you out. Our staff is very aware that the Jays are playing tonight, so we're going to try and get you home in time for that. I'm just going to take a quick minute and introduce everybody here, and then we're going to turn it over to our amazing staff and our CAO and our CFO to start the presentation. But first, on this side, we have every member of council here tonight joining you, and we have in the audience, we have our Deputy Fire Chief, Dan Bell is here. We have our Director of HR, Denise Ellen is here. Our Director of Recreation, Chris Roos is here. Manager of Parks, Lee is here. Mike Pensavero, Engineering is here. Trevor Houghton is here. He's our Chief Planner. Our Chief Building Official is here as well. And have I missed anybody? We've got our Manager of IT, the guy who makes everything work on a regular basis. Chris is here as well. And then up here at the front, we have our CAO, Andrew McNeil, with us. Our Deputy CAO, Jerry Marshall, is here with us. Our Clerk and General Manager of Everything, Nicole, is here. Our General Manager of Public Works and Infrastructure, Kevin Lalonde. Our Fire Chief, amazing Fire Chief, is here. And of course, our amazing and talented Chief Financial Officer, Jocelyn Lee, is here. So, ladies and gentlemen, they're here to present this draft budget that we've come up with, and I can tell you that there was some real clear understanding from everybody that this was to be a status quo budget this year. We understand that times are tough. We seem to have got a lot of our controls in place for this building and other things, and so worked exceptionally hard to get this down to 2.99% on a blended rate, and we're going to continue to work away at that. So we're going to present it to you tonight, hear your comments and your thoughts. We're also getting comments and thoughts coming in from the public online, and we look forward to getting through this process and coming out within a budget that is responsible, affordable, and can help move our community forward in a positive and sustainable manner. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Andrew McNeil, our CAO. Andrew?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to just go through about 4 slides, and then I'm going to turn over the heavy lifting to our amazing CFO, Jocelyn Lee. So in terms of the format for this evening, we'll do a fairly quick budget overview. Then we're going to give all of you an opportunity to ask any questions that are top of mind for you. If we don't get to any of your questions, or if you are a little bit shy about speaking in front of the group, all of the staff will remain after that session, so if you want to come up one-on-one and ask us whatever you want to chat about, we're happy to hang around as long as you'd like us to. As is always the case, we are working hard to make sure that we are frugal with every nickel that comes from taxpayers. As in previous years, it's important to provide a sustainable financial budget that supports initiatives, growth, and legislative requirements that prioritizes 3 things. Number 1, we are always looking for partnership opportunities, and I think you have all seen over the last few years, we are thrilled with the partnerships that we've developed. To date, in the last couple of years, we have raised almost $155.5 million, and what I'm referring to is dollars that are coming from the province. So that includes commitment to build 2 high schools in our community, one right beside us that's under construction right now. We are going from being one of the largest communities in Canada without a high school to having 2 that will be under construction shortly. So that is phenomenal. It also includes $25 million towards the rebuild of Nancy Island, $11 million towards the construction on Beach Drive, as well as funding towards a plan for the redevelopment of provincial lands, currently provincial lands along our beachfront. So that is an amazing achievement. It is the most funding that has ever come to this community in the history of this municipality. The second component is we want to make sure that we do everything we can to minimize the impact to residential property owners. Unfortunately for us, we don't have an extremely large non-residential tax base yet. We're working hard to build that up, which means a lot of the tax burden falls on residential property owners. So we are cognizant of that. We try and keep rates exceptionally low. This year, the mayor mentioned 2.99 is where we're coming in. Simcoe County, we are operating under the assumption that they'll be at 3.5. That needs to be confirmed over the coming weeks, but that's what we've built the budget around. So we're lower than the county. I am very confident that we will be at the lower end across Simcoe County of all the municipalities in the county. Both the CFO and myself, we do talk to our neighbors. We did an informal poll about where people were landing, and what I am hearing is that most municipalities will be in the mid to high threes. Some are as high as 11%. So we are doing quite well. I'm only aware of one other municipality that was in the twos, and that was a few weeks ago. I don't know where they've ultimately are landing. And ultimately, we want to ensure that we're delivering term of council priorities. Those term of council priorities are based on what all of you tell our elected officials during election campaigns and throughout the year. So we try and be as responsive to what we are hearing from the community and make sure that we're delivering on what all of you are looking to see in our community. Now, the mayor did mention that this year we have tried to keep essentially a status quo budget. There are a couple of things that are a little out of the norm, and I'll just briefly touch on what those are. So the beachfront, you've likely all heard about the wonderful news coming from the province where they are proposing to transfer about 60 hectares of land to the municipality. That does have an impact because assuming this goes forward, and we have been told that we should know before Christmas whether or not this is proceeding, but what we need to do is we need to ensure, if this happens, that we've planned for it appropriately. So we have built into the budget the assumption that we will be taking over these lands, that we will be maintaining them. Now, the good news is that we are also operating under the assumption that parking revenue will cover operational costs. We don't believe that that is a stretch. Essentially, that has been the model for Ontario Parks for 50 years. So we're not doing anything outside of the norm. Additionally, for the first year in our history, we took over Allenwood Beach this summer of 2025. So we got a year under our belt of managing parking within the beach areas. Allenwood, the parking, we did quite well. And that includes the fact that our council has actually given the ability for residents to park in any town-owned area for free. So Allenwood Beach, many of you I'm sure took advantage of it. You could go and park there for free this past summer. Even with that, we raised almost $180,000 from parking. So that gives us an idea of the kind of revenue that we can expect along the beachfront. Allenwood, there are 174 spots that generated $180,000. The province, in the lands that they are talking about turning over to us, Provincial Beach Area 1, Provincial Beach Area 2, there are 1,200 parking spots currently on the ground in that area. So we've used some very conservative numbers. If you do math and you equate per unit stall based on the 190 that we experienced this summer, you would be well into the seven figures in terms of revenue that would be generated by that parking. We haven't assumed anything close to that because we want to get a couple of years under our belt before we truly understand what kind of revenue can come. So we're assuming $820,000 combined Allenwood plus the new provincial lands that would come to us in revenue, and that's pretty close to covering operational expenses. So if we're too conservative and we actually generate a bit more, that's fantastic news for the community. Additionally, we want to ensure 2026, the same as we did this summer. We're under construction right now, but it's very important that we put our best foot forward and we maintain ourselves open for business so that we can still continue to attract tourists. All of our businesses depend on tourism in addition to all of our amazing locals that support businesses. So it is important to the economy of our community. Policing is something that we have to fund. We don't have a lot of say in what they charge us, but we do have to pay the tab. You may recall, or you may not, last year we saw an incredible increase in their proposed budget. It came in over 20% increase year over year. We were not alone. Virtually every municipality in the province got sticker shock from what they received from OPP, those that have OPP. We collectively pushed back, and the province helped us absorb that year-over-year increase. This year, we have not yet received the bill for 2026 for OPP services. We should have that mid-November, so we'll know in a few weeks where they're coming in, but thankfully, we did receive a letter fairly recently from the Solicitor General indicating that they are going to cap any year-over-year increases at 11%. That is still very high. Historically, increases in our community have been 5% year-over-year. I hope we come in closer to 5 than 11, but we need to assume worst-case scenario. So in the draft budget, we have assumed 11% increase year-over-year from last year. I hope we're closer to 5, and then that will make the budget even better for all of you. Additionally, we are assuming some revenue that will come from sale of lands, and there are a number of properties that we are currently talking about. One is just kitty corner to where we are today is the old arena. We are in discussions with the province about a potential reuse for that site. I hope we are able to share that and that all materializes before Christmas or shortly thereafter. But so good news is coming on that site. There will be additional revenue that comes from land sales along the beachfront, as well as additional parcels throughout the community. There are a number of sporadic, isolated pieces of land that the municipality owns that we really have no need for. Council has already declared them surplus. We are currently marketing 2 of them. They are currently for sale. We don't want to flood the market and put on a whole bunch of vacant lands at the same time. The real estate market is pretty soft right now, so we want to be careful about how we do that. But those will be slowly marketed, and the revenue from those will come slowly back to the municipality. And now I'm going to turn it over to Jocelyn. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. So good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Jocelyn Lee, and I'm going to walk you through a few slides that are going to cover these areas. I'll talk a little bit about the local government services and what the status quo budget means. I'll look at the high-level operating capital budgets with you, and we'll look at the 2026 draft budget increase over 2025. We'll look at average household tax bill and then how the tax dollars are put to work. And finally, we'll look at our reserves. So starting with the local government services, sometimes it's good to just be clear what services are issued by the different levels of government. So for the town of Wasaga Beach, you can see we have roads, snow removal, traffic control, water, sewer, parks. We have beach operations, recreation, library, planning standards, building standards. So quite a variety there of service levels that we provide. And for the county of Simcoe, they apply a tax rate to our tax bill as well for some of the services that they provide, such as social programs, paramedic services, long-term care. So some of those services are part of their tax rate. And then the province has control over the policing services and sets their budget. And a bill for the town's share of policing services, as Andrew was mentioning, is sent to the town, and we include this in our budget. The town does not control that policing budget, but we are responsible to pay for it, so we do raise taxes to cover that expense. The education services are also controlled by the province. However, it is handled differently from the police bill. The province sets the education tax rate, and similar to the Simcoe County, the town collects these taxes as part of the property tax bill too. Healthcare is also under the provincial government's authority. And while health services are the responsibility of the province, the town is not considered eligible under the province's guidelines to have a medical clinic. Therefore, the town has deemed that our residents need this service and elected to pay for it, mainly through the casino funds. Is my voice carrying okay on the mic? Yeah? Okay, great, thanks. So the status quo budget, keeping top of mind that the current conditions, the 2026 budget is for the most part status quo. We have maintained the 2025 service levels, making adjustments for inflation, cost trends, COLA at 2.5%, step and benefit rate increases, union agreements, and annualization adjustments. We also have, as Andrew mentioned, 2 changes related to the staffing levels. A new manager environmental services for water wastewater, which is covered through user fees, and new positions related to increased beach operations, which are covered by new parking revenues. So the total budget for 2026 is $102.8 million. And the chart on this slide shows the 2 major budget categories of operating and capital. The operating budget, shown in dark blue, indicates a total of $67.9 million, or 66% of the total budget is spent on the operating budget. Some of the operating type expenditures are staffing, administration, policing, debt payments, and program and service level delivery. The light blue pie section is the capital budget at $34.9 million, which represents 34% of the total budget. Capital works includes projects for roadworks, water sewer infrastructure, parks and playground equipment, vehicle replacements, and other asset management needs. And you can see there in the boxes that the capital budget is supported through taxation with $2.7 million of taxation, and operating budget is tax supported with $38.1 million. This slide shows the total 26 budget amount of $102.8 million broken down into our business units, and it's expressed in millions of dollars. The dark blue bars representing operating costs and the light blue bars represent capital costs. The Office of the CAO has a budget of about $5 million. The divisions under the Office of the CAO include the administration, council, HR, and beach operations. Shown separately, but also under the Office of the CAO, is policing at $6.5 million, library services at $1.9 million, and property sales of $6.7 million. The Department of Strategic Initiatives at $2.3 million includes strategic projects, economic development, and community events. Corporate Services has treasury, corporate financing, debt repayment, and information technology. The large grant funding from federal gas tax, infrastructure, and operating grants, along with casino funds and MAT tax, are included under corporate financing. The total for this department is about $14 million. Community services includes fire, emergency management, health and safety, recreation and facilities, and the total for this department is $12.4 million. Infrastructure services covers public works, transit, engineering, maintenance operations, storm drainage, and parks. And there is significant capital programs in that department, and the total budget is about $31 million. Also, under infrastructure services is water wastewater, and it is $15.7 million. The Department of Legislative and Development Services covers clerks, cemetery, the election, medical clinic, building services, planning services, parking, and bylaw. This department budget is about $6.4 million. So when reading the budget document, which is available online, you will find the budget grouped under these departments' headings. And for each individual budget, there is an operating budget if relevant and a capital budget if required. This is such interesting stuff. Okay, so looking more closely now at the costs of the operating budget, we can see from this chart that what the major expense categories are. The largest category is staffing for wages and benefits, and the town delivers all of its services to the community through staff. So it is logical that this is our largest cost. For comparative purposes, in the year 2024, Collingwood, with a similar population and tax base, had staffing costs of $27.6 million. Program and service level costs represent $12 million, and policing costs are $6.5, and the overhead costs $6.7. Debt costs run at $3.6 million, and the transfers to the reserves from the operating budget are $7.7 million. And in those transfers to reserves are some of those large grants that we get from the province and the federal government, our casino funding and the MAT tax, all of those get transferred to reserves. Looking now at the capital budget, the expenditures are more programming and service level related, and this is where we leverage your dollars with the federal and provincial grants and invest in service delivery for the town. The largest capital budget is for roadworks, which includes projects like Beach Drive. We are receiving a $10 million grant for this project. The wastewater projects continue with bar screen retrofit, water meter replacement, and some other projects. And for parks, there is a playground equipment investments and a new sports field for the Catholic High School. Beach operations is the new service level we've spoken about, and we also see some investment in maintenance equipment. This slide provides a summary of the revenues that form part of the budget. For municipalities, budgets are prepared using all other available revenue sources first. And lastly, the amount that is needed to balance the budget is raised through taxation. Taxation revenue is the largest revenue source, and this slide shows that we require approximately $41 million. Other sources of revenue include user fees, such as those that support the water wastewater program, the building department and planning department, and there are license revenues, permits, and other fees too. Reserves are a funding mechanism for all municipalities. Not only do we contribute to reserves, but we draw on them for various needs. The capital program uses the capital replacement reserve to maintain asset management requirements, development charges from the reserve funds, as well as utilizing the large grant revenues received from the province and the federal governments. Casino funding is another source of revenue, and included in this year's budget is a conservative estimate of $1.2 million for the new municipal accommodation tax. And we have some land sales expected. So we'll now look at the details of the changes between last year's budget and this year's budget. And the net change is $229,000. Previously mentioned is the new positions related to beach operations and the manager environmental services. So those new staffing costs are $919,000. Other payroll-related costs of $1.3 million include the step and COLA adjustments, the union agreements, and the benefit rate increases, which those run about 7%, and other annualization adjustments. The corporate finance change represents mainly the new MAT tax revenue, which will be transferred to a reserve, and the new debenture costs are related to a new wastewater debenture and Simcoe County loan costs. Water and wastewater operations have increased under the new Aqua contract, and these operating cost increases are offset by lower capital program costs. So you can see the negative $4 million for. So that net change of $229,000, basically, we've increased our operating, we've decreased our capital for a net change of $229,000. This slide provides a view of taxation changes from 25 to 26. In 25, the town needed $38 million of taxation to balance the budget. For 2026, the town needs $41 million, and this is an increase of $2.5 million. New assessment growth in our assessment base is able to pay for $1,155,000 of the new taxes that are needed. This leaves $1,351,000 that must be raised through the taxpayers. Note that the phase-in line is 0, as the province has still frozen the market adjustments. This results in the town's municipal tax rate increase being higher, as there is no phase-in assessment that is able to pay for any of the necessary increase. If, for example, there was $1 million covered by phase-in, then the town's tax levy rate increase share would only be $351,000, and that would equal a much smaller tax rate increase. However, regardless of what line the increase is shown on, the total taxation required is the same. How it is paid for is what is different. Let's now review the impact on the tax bill. In the town of Wasaga Beach, the average household assessment is $333,000. And it is important to understand that this is not the market value of the home. This is the assessed value of the home that MPAC assigns using their own assessment criteria. Taxes are paid based on the assessed value, not the market value. The total taxes on the average household is estimated at $4,072 for 2026, versus in 2025 it was $3,977, and that is a difference of $95 for the year. The pie chart on this slide shows that 61% of the tax bill stays with the town to support our budget, which is $2,493. Previously, we talked about the education and county taxes and how they are part of the tax bill. So 26%, or $1,069 of the tax bill is collected and sent to Simcoe County for their services. And 13%, or $509 of the tax bill is collected and sent to the province for the Ministry of Education. So overall, it is estimated that the draft budget that the $4,072 tax amount is 2.99% higher than the 25 tax bill for the same assessment value of $333,000. So 61 cents of every dollar stays in the town, and 39 cents of every dollar goes to other levels of government. Looking at the tax bill with a bit more information, you can see in this diagram the percentage portions for each of the three levels of a government is the same, 61%, 26%, and 13%. And that's the same of what we had on this slide, 61, 26, and 13. In the round side icons, you can see the percentage tax rate increase for the town is 3.41%. And the county is 3.5%. There is no increase in the education tax rate. In the center icon, with the 61% and 26% circles, you can see that the tax percent impact for these increases is 2.08% for the town and 0.91% for the county, which together gives the blended tax rate increase of 2.99%. The 2.99% is the important factor when asking yourself, how much will my taxes go up? The answer is your tax bill will go up 2.99%. So let's now look at assessment values in relation to some of our comparator municipalities. This chart shows Wasaga Beach at the $333,000 assessment value. Some municipalities have lower values, some higher. Wasaga Beach is somewhat in the middle. Taxes are charged using the tax rate times the assessed value. So if a municipality has a higher assessment value and a higher tax rate than Wasaga Beach, the taxpayer will pay more taxes in that municipality. If the municipality has a lower tax rate than Wasaga Beach and still has a higher assessed value, would they pay less? The municipalities of King, Bradford, West Gwillimbury, New Tecumseh, and Tiny all have lower tax rates than Wasaga Beach. So let's see what their taxpayers are paying. So those municipalities with lower tax rates still have a dollar amount out of pocket that is paid for the average assessed home in these municipalities that is higher than what you would pay in Wasaga Beach, except for Tiny Township. Tiny Township has considerably less services provided than Wasaga Beach, similar to Clearview. So when considering the absolute dollar amount that goes out of your pocket on taxes, Wasaga Beach offers the best economic value. It's important to look at the dollar amount being paid on the average assessed home, rather than focusing on tax rates or tax rate percentage changes. What matters are the dollars leaving your pocket. If you own a property in one of the other municipalities, on average, you will pay more for the taxes on that property than you do in Wasaga Beach, and possibly for less services. So takeaways are, don't focus on the tax rate, don't focus on the percentage change, focus on the absolute dollars. So now let's just look at what your tax dollars that stay in Wasaga Beach, the 61% of your tax bill, are being used for. Public works core services like roads and bridges, water and wastewater, storm drainage, transit, these items use 20% of the tax bill. Close behind is policing at 15.6%, and fire services are also close by at 14.3%. Corporate services, recreation and facilities, and the Office of the CAO range from 7% to 11.5%. So of the $41 million of taxation the town raises for the operating and capital budgets, almost 50% of it is spent on the top three important services: police work, or public works, policing, and fire. This budget slide focuses on the reserves and what is projected for 2026. We have estimated that the opening reserve balance will be about $41.8 million. The net change in the reserves, which is contributions and draws, results in a net increase of $1 million. The projecting ending reserve balance at the end of 2026 is $42.9 million. And reserves fluctuate from year to year as we use them to help finance large capital projects and corporate initiatives. The budgets also build in amounts to replenish the reserves or putting funds in reserves for future uses. Some years, replenishment is higher than spending. Other years, the spending is the higher balance. To help you stay engaged in our budget process, the following highlights the timeline. We have completed the October 9th meeting where the draft budget was presented, including department presentations. The Engage Wasaga page has been launched, and you will find budget detail information on the site. Tonight, we invite you to ask questions or make comments or to talk to the department staff following the open mic session. On November 13th, there will be a public meeting, and the wastewater rate study will be presented along with the proposed fees and charges for 2026. The mayor's proposed budget will be distributed to council members too on November 13th. The November 27th council meeting is when council members' amendments, if any, will be tabled. The budget will be adopted when there is no longer a veto option available, which will be December 9th at the latest and November 27th at the earliest. So to help everyone stay engaged and have a full opportunity to participate in the budget, we have the following information available. Please consider participating in the budget survey. There are 3 questions. Are there projects or services you would like to see included in the 26 budget? Is there an area of the budget that we should spend more or less on? And what is an acceptable tax increase in your opinion? Thank you. This concludes the budget presentation, and I'll now pass the floor back to Andrew to continue with the open mic session.
Okay, thank you, Jocelyn. That's a lot to take in, but I think Jocelyn has done an amazing job to try and make it as simple as possible. But now's the fun part. Now you get to ask us any questions that are top of mind. So mics have been set up in the middle of the room, both sides. So please don't be shy. Anything top of mind that may have been covered or that wasn't covered, we'll open the floor. Okay. The first brave soul. Yes.
Hello, thank you for that. That was, oops, I broke it. Yes, what I was wondering, is there any capital reserves in place or any plans that would involve widening River Road to 2 lanes, because it's only a single lane before it gets to here and the new school, because I'm anticipating lots of traffic in the area. So I don't know if it's a plan to widen it so that it goes past this new school and east where the new subdivision is going to be. And then in the other end of town on Moseley, when you've got the Costco going in and that new subdivision that's proposed, you know, sort of between, I know, 45th, I think last year you spoke between 45th and the Circle, that eventually it would be sort of what they did on River Road, where it goes from 2 lanes to 3. So I'm just wondering what the future plans for widening both those sections of roads would be, and if there's, you know, budget plans for that.
Sure. Kevin, do you want to take that one?
Can you hear me? Yeah, thanks for your question. You'll notice when you look at the budget documents, there's still 2 projects accounted for in this coming budget. We're finalizing the detailed design for Moseley Street, so that's 45th to Beechwood, and that's widening center left turn lane, on-street bike lanes, multi-use trails, improved street lighting as well. So that design continues, and then the capital construction of that is in the 10-year forecast, but it's later in the 10-year forecast. I don't have those specific timelines, but we are updating our 10-year forecast, and we do make them available on our website, so that is coming. And if you have specific questions about that, Mike is here, our manager of engineering, and we can have those conversations after the information session. River Road West as well, that design is underway. We have a roundabout designed for Theme Park Drive and River Road West, as well as a continuous center left turn lane along the frontage of the arena, the school, and it will most likely extend towards the Farsight residential development. So again, that design has been initiated. It'll be completed next year. We have a budget to complete that. And then the timing for its construction is still subject to budget approval for 2027. Our goal is to get the design complete, understand the utility conflicts, and coordinate those relocations first before we can get underway with construction. Timelines-wise, will it be open and ready before the school opens? We're working on that, to be determined, I think, is the answer to that one. Thanks for your question.
Okay. Usually after the first brave soul goes, a line starts developing, but you have more? Is there anybody else before? Okay, if there's nobody, you can go again. Or we can end early and go watch the game. All in favor? There we go.
Very good question.
Hello? Okay. So I have a question regarding Sunnydale. Sunnydale Road is becoming a very, very busy area as there are several thousand homes being built on Sunnydale that were started to be constructed a couple of years ago, several years ago, and are being ongoing constructed. And I think at the end of the day, there'll be 10,000 more people living on Sunnydale Road than there were several years ago. Just curious about any strategies for either widening that road, because it's still a single lane predominantly. Also, stoplights. I saw a stoplight was erected on Sunnydale in a very strange area just a couple of weeks ago. It's near probably one of the smallest new neighborhoods in the community, and it is a bit of an oddity because that stoplight's going in where there's very little action, very little traffic, as opposed to a quarter mile or half a mile south of that area where there's lots of traffic and thousands of homes being built. So I'm curious about what the strategy is for Sunnydale Road. It's one of the 3 major roads in this community. We've got 45th, we've got Sunnydale, and I guess we have Klondike Park and coming out this way. So curious about that.
That sounds like another Kevin question.
I can start. There's a lot of details there that Mike would probably have better answers for you after, but certainly it is one of our arterial roads. It's actually not as busy as one might think. It's not as busy as 45th. It's not as busy as River Road West or Moseley Street. So those are our immediate priorities. The signals that you saw or that are being commissioned very soon, they're pedestrian push-button signals. So that's to facilitate pedestrian crossings to and from the school, both the high school and the elementary school long-term. A lot of the catchment area is not only from within the Sunnydale Trails development, but also across the street in Wasaga Sands area. There are thresholds and triggers for the developer to construct traffic signals along Sunnydale at Union Boulevard and the other arterial connection there. So there are 2 signals, I think, 3 traffic signals coming within the next 10 years or whatever it might be, whenever those triggers are warranted. So there is a plan for that. And then there is also a plan in the 10-year for new traffic signals at the intersection of Knox Road West and Sunnydale. But the long-term strategy for widening of Sunnydale, it isn't warranted just yet. And then before we even get into that design, we have to go through an environmental assessment process. And we do have that earmarked at the tail end of our tenure, but current priority certainly is, we wanted to get the sidewalks in front of the schools, in front of Birchview Dunes. We know we need to flip over and deal with widening and streetscaping and improvements along Moseley Street. And then following that, there's lots of work to do, but those other arterial roads are the priority right now.
Okay, I think you had a question?
Thanks. Hi. My name is Kim. I'm with the Connect Club of Wasaga Beach. And I just have a question about the sign down at the Recplex. At one of the last meetings, I was told it would be done in September. Oh, it's October, and there's still no sign. My concern is we're holding a function here this weekend, a farmer's, like a market, and it's hard because the only media we have is social media. We don't have anything in town that we can put it out there other than Home Hardware. They've been very kind to us and helped put it on their sign, but I know it's not something they want to be in the practice of, so I'm just wondering when, maybe, if I could get a month that it might actually happen.
I will try and give you an exact date. I'm looking to Chris in the back. Is it within 2 weeks?
I think so, yes. The gears are forward, the televisions are here, there's going to be installed being built off-site. It hadn't previously promised that a meeting like this for September, and now we're in October. Yes, we are working with that contractor only as a client that we're trying to get the installation as soon as possible to ensure that gears are forward and it will be installed.
So apologies for the delay, but should be within 2 weeks.
Won't help us.
Let us know as well. I mean, the town can always help you get the word out for your events. We're happy to help support.
Hi. The construction that's going on out on Klondike and Swells concession, the pumping station or something, I believe it is Wasaga bearing any costs in our taxes for that?
Kevin, can you speak to that one again?
Short answer is no. That's the new well site for the township of Clearview. So no, it's strictly Clearview driven and
So they're
funded.
just drawing water from that area from when they tested a couple of years ago.
Yeah, they had a challenge finding enough basically water to draw from the ground to yield certain wells, and that was the preferred location from exploratory wells throughout Clearview, and so that is going to be their primary well source that they're going to draw and pump water into Stainer.
Okay. Where does Wasaga Beach get their water from? Wells or springs or?
Yep, we do get them from deep aquifer wells, both from, I call it Powerline Road, but Veterans Way, just south of, or just north of Fernbrook, where it ties into Veterans. There's a well site there. There's also a second well site at Janetta, right at the Spruce Street parking lot. It looks like the Ontario Parks washrooms, but that's another well site for the town. So we rely on the aquifers and not surface water from the bay, but deep aquifers within the groundwater.
Right. So this unit out here on Klondike will not affect us in Wasaga?
Correct,
Okay.
yeah, it's
Thank you.
independent.
Just wondering about, I know, so you've got in the budget more to cover the new beach maintenance and things like that. So I guess we're assuming it's the park transfer is going to be a done deal at some point. In that budget, so will the town need to have, so right now the parks have their rangers that go in little ATVs up and down and kind of police the beach and all that. So I'm assuming that the town will now be responsible for that kind of policing the beach and that kind of stuff. So we would be purchasing ATVs, equipment, staffing, that kind of thing. So is that incorporated into the budget? As well as additional, the second part would be, we've got the one machine that we got from the province that they're using currently in Allenwood. So right now, they're raking, which isn't desirable. The new equipment, sips the stuff out. So we'll be getting maybe a second one to handle the main beach area, or you're just going to be using that same equipment going back and forth between Wasaga, New Wasaga, Allenwood, and the main beach?
Yeah, so the simple answer is we have to be conservative and assume that this is going to go through because we don't want to get caught not having budgeted for it.
Right.
If it doesn't happen, then that's okay. But again, so we have budgeted, making the assumption that all the lands will come under town ownership. What we have done is looked at it through 3 departments. Lee is our manager of parks. He's looked at what requirements would come from his group in terms of maintaining the area, cutting grass, etc. From a works perspective, increased garbage collection, what does that mean? Do we need an additional vehicle, etc.? And then we've also looked, Nicole has also looked at bylaw requirements. So we've accounted for all of that in the budget. As I mentioned earlier, we believe that, we're budgeting with revenue of approximately $800,000. We think that's conservative, but that parking revenue should cover off and offset all of the increased operational costs that come with increased parks, garbage collection, and bylaw.
Okay. And then there was just one other word in the thing that said the provincial sale / transfer.
Yes.
So does that mean there's some bits of that we're purchasing from the provincial government?
So our understanding is that should this proceed, a sale would be for a nominal fee, $2. Technically, I think they would likely need to sell the land to us, but it would be a nominal fee.
Okay. All right. So we're not going to hit us with a bill.
No, no.
Hello. So you mentioned 1,200 parking spots along Beach Area 1 and 2?
Approximately.
Approximately, yeah. I was just wondering, how does the breakers and the development that is happening there impact the 1,200 parking spots?
Completely separate. So
separate.
1,200, I am referring to currently provincially owned areas at Beach Area 1 and provincially owned Beach Area 2. The town currently owns parking on top of those 1,200 spots. The good news is there isn't a shortage of parking at our beachfront. The issue is everybody likes convenient parking. Same as when you come to the arena, you want to park right by the door. Same as when you go to the beachfront, you want to park right by the store you're going to or the restaurant you're going to. There isn't a shortage of parking, but it's convenient parking that we want to address. Over time, as Beach Area 1, the current land within town ownership between Spruce and 3rd Street, as those lands develop, there will likely be a need for a parking structure, so we're planning for that now. Again, we're planning for the future today, but 1,200 parking spots will generate a lot of revenue, and as I mentioned earlier, that will offset all the operational costs that we're looking at. Okay, any other questions top of mind? Going once? Twice? Yes? That was the auctioneer getting right in under that before I hit the gavel.
We know that you propose to sell the old arena. Would you consider, the town, consider to convert it to the farmer market, year-round farmer market, and rent it, and have a rented revenue?
The simple answer is no, we haven't considered that. And I won't go too deep down a rabbit hole. It's very difficult to have a farmer's market year-round because farmers can't grow produce in the winter. So I think what you're talking about is a public market where you can often get crafters and a whole bunch of stuff. St. Lawrence Market, for example, is open year-round. It's not just about farm produce that's sold. Public markets are notorious for losing money. There are very few of them in the country for that reason. You need a very large population base to support a public market. The reason I know this is I actually did a business case for a public market in a previous life when I was in Mississauga. Mississauga could not support a permanent year-round public market in its downtown. So it would be very difficult for Wasaga Beach, I suspect, to actually support it and make it viable for a lot of the people that would be there trying to sell their produce. So that's a long answer to your question, but no, we have not looked at it. That's part of the rationale for it.
Okay.
Okay. It's a good question, though.
Hi. About 9 months ago, I think we were all here for another meeting where you gave a whole presentation about what is happening at Beach One with the people who are going to build the hotel, et cetera, and I thought, and you load of pictures, what it's going to be like. And now I hear that there's more input required. Have we gone back like 4 years to, or is things still going on, what you talked about 9 months ago?
No, and I apologize if it's gotten a little confusing. We're moving forward. The Breakers development is under construction. They're getting the finishing touches on the first building. There are 2 more buildings that are going to go up immediately thereafter. The hotel is moving forward. We're finalizing all agreements. They're doing detailed design. We are looking forward to that breaking ground, hopefully in the spring, but definitely by the summer of 2026. That is completely separate but related to what we're talking about. So the master plan that we're going to be doing over the next year pertains to the lands that the province is potentially selling to the municipality. So in addition to transferring or selling 60 hectares of land, the province gave the municipality $2 million for planning. So we've already retained a team. We're going to be starting that process very soon. You're going to hear on social media the town is going to start advertising. It's going to be the week of November 17th where we do our first public workshop. But that is to create the plan for what those lands become, and we want you all involved in that. Tell us what your vision is for those lands. So that's what that process is about.
Secondly, on the budget here, the 2.9%, so going 2.99%, you did mention there was a slide there saying that the reserves are going up from 41.8 million to 42.8 million. So it's going up $1 million. Can we not use that? Why are we putting more money into reserves and not using that $1 million to bring down our tax rate?
I'm going to let our CFO answer that one.
Thank you for your question. So we have a lot of activity with reserves that go back and forth. And we need to have those reserves for other purposes, such as emergencies that we have, or for other projects that we are doing multi-year projects. We draw on those reserves in different years. So while it might look like there's $1 million available, we really do earmark those monies for specific purposes. And our reserves right now, we still need to be building them for asset management. There's now, under the new legislation, a requirement for municipalities to do better asset management planning and have a financial plan that will support them. We have quite a gap in what we need for asset management financial planning versus where our reserves are. So the numbers sound like there's lots of money there, but there's a lot of assets the town owns that have to be maintained, repaired, and replaced. So we must build our reserves up. So that's why we have contributions to reserve for various purposes, and then we draw on those reserves, and whatever that net is, it falls out. But we do need to keep what we're doing in order to have money for future needs.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, yes, sir. Sorry, I didn't see you back there.
Thanks. You indicated that the town continues to fund the medical clinic because we don't qualify for one. What is the qualification for the province to take that on, I guess, is what we'll be looking for, and is there a forecast for when we anticipate that will actually happen?
I'm going to pass this one to Jerry, who's been pivotal in getting the medical clinic up and running, and also helping to attract doctors to our community.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a great question. So when we talk to the province, in terms of where they're willing to spend money right now, we're too big. The demand in our area for doctors pales in comparison to other parts of the province. So there's no funding for that. But with the clinic itself, the strategy has always been for us not to own it for a long time. So we want to have 3 doctors in there. And so the first doctor gets in. 5 years from now, they pick up a third of the cost. Second doctor comes in, he picks up the second third. Third doctor arrives, the final third gets taken up. So our plan is never to maintain it for a long time, but actually turn it back into a normal physician-led practice. So there's an exit strategy to the conversation.
Okay. These are great questions, by the way. Anybody else? No? Okay. Last chance. The gavel is coming down. Okay, if you're too shy to hop up to the mic and you still have questions, feel free. We'll all hang around, all town staff. So feel free to come up with us, and we're happy to chat with you one-on-one. Thank you so much, and let's all keep our fingers crossed for the Blue Jays tonight. Hopefully they can tie it up. Thank you, everybody.